Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 5. So this week we really have two and a half assignments. So let's go over them. Our first assignment is the summary paragraph. And basically, I'm just asking you to describe what the topic of your documentary or podcast is about, and also maybe what the content of your documentary or podcast is. So, like, in other words, I'm interested in the kind of stuff that you covered in your presentations, like who's involved, what's the timeline, are there any terms that need to be defined, and so kind of that stuff about the topic. And then sometimes it's also helpful to get a sense of what the documentary covers, like who are they interviewing? Do they have footage? If so, what's the footage of? Like, how is it made? Like, what is it made of? You can even break it down into scenes. If it's more of a narrative documentary, you can say they tell the story of blah, blah, blah. If it's more like interviews about something, then you might want to go over the topic first and then talk about who they interview or like what kind of footage or other things that they include. Okay, and so if you have any questions about how to write a summary paragraph, I do include a link at the bottom of the assignment description here to this Las Positas College handout thing. And I thought this was nice. I saw some others, but they were huge blocks of text. I thought they were helpful, but I think this is the best one. It's just easier to read. And basically, some big tips are going to be like make sure that you're writing in present tense. Don't write in past tense, even though I know you watched the documentary. It already happened, they already filmed it. But when we're talking about something that's like literature, documentaries, any kind of text that other people can like eventually read or watch, we want to use present tense. Hopefully, you're kind of already used to that because I know people probably have had to write about literature in English classes before, right? And so the other thing that you want to make sure you're doing is using reporting verbs. And basically, what this does is it gives you a little bit of distance from the subject that you're analyzing. And so, like, we can't be unbiased. Like, we are going to have opinions and we are going to perceive things. That's important. That's part of why it's so valuable to have us as writers contributing to the discourse, right? But for example, let's say I'm reviewing this book and I say, it's so important to read English literature. Queen Elizabeth I was the most important writer of, Tudor era or whatever. Now, maybe I do believe that, but if I'm trying to depict what the book is saying, then now all of a sudden it sounds like I'm making the arguments instead of the book making the arguments and then I'm analyzing them. This could be maybe a little bit clearer if I'm using an example like we're using in class, for example. If I said something like, um, the worst cult in American history is the People's Temple or Jonestown. That's an argument, right? That I'm making. But this isn't an argument paper, right? It's an analysis paper. So I want to make sure that I'm making clear that the documentary is what's arguing that. And I'm just talking about the documentary, I'm analyzing it. And so I want to describe it accurately. So I would say the documentary argues that Jonestown is the worst, the worst cult tragedy in American history or something like that. Okay. And it's just going to make you sound a little bit more objective, and then it's going to make people want to trust your judgment a little bit more. There's also some sample paragraphs at the bottom here. I love a sample essay, a sample paragraph or whatever. It gives me a little bit better sense of what it should look like what my writing should look like, especially if I feel kind of lost. So I recommend looking at these if you feel like you could use a little bit more guidance on like what a summary paragraph should look like. I just think this is a good source. The other paragraph we're writing this week, and I know we're just like really getting right into our draft, is our pathos paragraph. And so the pathos paragraph hopefully will be the easiest paragraph. And you might have two, by the way, but the pathos section of your paper should be hopefully the easiest paragraph to write because pathos tends to be the appeal that we see the most clearly. Like it's easier to notice because it's trying to make us feel something, right? And so either we're having that emotional response or we're like, that didn't work on me. It's like, you know what I mean? Like we have kind of like a, no, that didn't work on me. Still kind of a response. So anyway, I have some tips here on how to write the pathos paragraph with some, like I said, a little bit of modeling. So I'm showing you a little bit of what it should look like. But I'm also going to go over in these slides in another video how to write a paragraph, what the structure should look like, how you want to present information, especially like evidence and explaining that evidence. And then the final thing for this week is I do want us to start peer reviews. So we're going to have a big peer review, later 2 weeks from now on our paper once it's done. or like once, you have a more completed draft. But at this point, I want to make sure that you're on the right track. And also, I kind of want to test the technical, the technical aspects of peer review because I haven't done peer review over Canvas in a long time. And so I want to make sure this is running smoothly by the time we're doing our big peer review. But I think it's a really good opportunity to help each other out. A lot of you have a really good sense of the rhetorical appeals. Some people could use a little extra help, but overall, I'm seeing really strong like lists that you turned in of the appeals. I really feel good about how everybody's doing in this class. It can still be challenging though to describe those to another person in a paragraph for your paper. And so this will just be one way of making sure it's coming through. And then if anybody has constructive feedback, the best ways to give constructive feedback on a peer review, one is to ask questions to say, what did you mean by blank? And that can give a person an opportunity to say, oh, shoot, I used the wrong word there, or oh, I need to give a little more description. And then the other thing is you can also make suggestions, and these can be big suggestions like, I think you're actually talking about ethos here, which that's a really big suggestion, and that would definitely affect somebody's grade in a significant way. But it could even be something little that wouldn't affect their grade as significantly, like something like a comma error, right? Like they might not even lose a point for using one comma in the wrong spot, but that's something that you're noticing and you can still contribute, right? If you're like, I don't know, everything looks good, but I did notice there's a comma error here, you might want to fix that. Great. Okay. So anyway, if anybody has any questions about peer review, it is worth half a point. So it's kind of low stakes, but hopefully this will be a great opportunity for us all to interact, learn from each other, and yeah, hope it's helpful. Well, I will see you all next week and have a good one.